This is Johnny and Jose with TigerBomb MMA, and tonight we'll be going over UFC Fight Night, Costa versus Vettori, going over the entire fight card, giving you thoughts, breakdown, predictions, possible parlays. But we'll start off with a rebooked bout at middleweight, Laureano Starpoli versus Jamie Pickett. And currently the odds on this one have it at plus 180 for Jamie Pickett comeback on Starpoli minus 220. Why the odds are like that, I'm not sure. It's a pick 'em in my opinion. I understand that Starpoli is very aggressive and moving up in weight. He's going to have a better chin, allegedly, but he is kind of undersized here. He may be 6'1" compared to the 6'2" of Jamie Pickett, but Jamie Pickett's got a ridiculously long reach, 80 inches, opposed to the 71 and a half for Starpoli. So Starpoli, of course, his main weapon would be to try to get it to the ground, use his jiu-jitsu, or potentially try to get the knockout, but getting the knockout on a guy the size of Jamie Pickett with those arms is going to be difficult. My pick hasn't changed. I'm going to go with Jamie Pickett. He should be the more physical guy in there. In a fight that I think it should be a pick 'em, I'm going to go with the underdog. I really don't care. It's a loser leaves town match, as we brought up last time. Both of these guys are on a 2-fight losing streak. Starpoli, actually, never mind, 3-fight losing streak, moved up to middleweight to try to recapture something in the UFC, but Roman Dolidze basically hugged him around the cage. They both need a win. I'm going to go with Pickett. I'll say he'll win this one by a decision. It should be a close fight. Decision for sure. Could go either way, but I'll go with the dog money with Jamie Pickett.
Yeah, I don't recall exactly who I went with last time, but at those odds, yeah, those are crazy odds, man. That alone, the odds alone, I think there's value in Jamie Pickett. It's I don't know how to associate. I mean, I can associate it in my brain, but I don't know how to explain it. Where like in the NFL, like football, for example, when the odds are too high, when the spread is juiced, so to speak. So for example, let's say, team A versus team B, realistically it should be a -3 for team A, but it's a -7 or something, so instead of they have them winning by field goal, they have them winning by touchdown. There's value in the underdog there, in that those extra 4 points that it's juiced. Anyway, it's something similar here, to where, they have the odds juice for Starpoli for some reason. So I think there's value in that alone for Pickett, betting wise. But I think, I don't think Starpoli is UFC caliber. I think he has a lot of fundamentals to work on. And I think, Bellator, or what's another one?
PFL?
Where, the PFL. I was going to say something else. I forgot what. Yeah, Bellator, the PFL is, should be a good place for him to sharpen his skills. Long story short, I'm going with Pickett by decision.
Our next bout at lightweight, we've got a fight between Kama, the Death Star Worthy, and Jai, the Black Country Banger Herbert. And currently the odds on this one have it in favor of Jai Herbert, -170, comeback on Worthy, +150. Interesting odds. I gotta say I agree with them, just because Kama Worthy, although he is very good technically, he's good on the ground, jiu-jitsu is very good, striking's good. That chin is been exposed, and it's been exposed so severely. Atman Azaitar knocked him out in the first round. Jamie Malarkey knocked him out in the first round. And at this point, it's not a shame losing to Jamie Malarkey. But when Jamie Malarkey gets off on you instead of you getting off on Jamie Malarkey first, it's kind of bad. His chin is ultimate liability. He's been knocked out multiple times. Funny enough, when he came into the UFC, and on short notice, no less, and fought Devontae Smith, everyone expected him to get knocked out. He was like a +800 underdog. I took a slight shot on him, and I made like a whopping $8 because I'm a pussy. But he showed that his striking is good as long as he doesn't get hit. He's going to get hit by Jai Herbert. Jai Herbert, he's a lot better than what his current losing streak indicates. He lost to Renato Moicano. I picked him to beat Moicano because Moicano just recently at that point got cracked by Fiziev, and Moicano went back to his roots, just completely dominated him on the ground. They eventually got the submission, the rear naked choke, and that fight with Trinaldo, incredibly awesome fight, back and forth. He hurts Trinaldo, and then ultimately Trinaldo knocks him out with one of the nastiest punches to the top of the head. Ridiculous. And then that's when, Dan Hardy made a fool out of himself. I like Jai Herbert. I keep picking Jai Herbert, and it sucks that he hasn't gotten his UFC win. Of course, this bout, Kama Worthy is going to want to try to get it to the ground as soon as possible, try to exploit that weakness. Jai Herbert, I think his grappling is a lot better than what it is and what we've seen. It's just that Moicano really, really, really outgunned him on the ground. Like he showed his black belt that day. I like the strikes from Jai Herbert. He's got a very vicious reach, and he knows how to use it. 77-inch reach compared to the 74 for Kama Worthy. I don't see a way that Jai Herbert doesn't hurt Kama Worthy, and I just see this going inside the distance, whether it be round 1, which I'm going to predict, or possibly even round 3. Eventually, Kama Worthy is going to get cracked. Jai Herbert is going to get his first UFC win, deservedly. Unfortunately, he was thrown to the wolves. I know Trinaldo, we'll talk about him later. He's up in age, but dude is a monster. He's a scrapper. And, Moicano, for a second fight in the UFC, it kind of sucks that he's kind of been thrown to the wolves. So I'll go with Jai Herbert, first round knockout. I do not want to see this guy out of the UFC. He has a lot of potential. I know he's 33 years old, but he's very fun to watch. So I've got Herbert, round number 1 knockout.
Yeah, this one's tough. This is a coin flip fight to me. I would personally stay away from it because I think either of these guys can win. It's just a matter of how. And if they actually implement their game plan, which for Kama Worthy is to take this to the ground. For Jai Herbert is to piece him up on his feet. So it's just a matter of who's going to be able to, set the tone for the fight and exact their will on the other guy. I think, like I said, this is a coin flip. I'm going to stay away from this fight. But I see Kama Worthy taking it to the ground unless Jai Herbert's been working on his, grappling defense at the very least, or takedown defense, I should say. No, grappling defense, I guess, as well, just because if he does take him to the ground, he should be, practicing getting back up as fast as possible, not just laying there as a turtle and waiting for him to, get side control and possibly full control or, full mount or whatever. I think Kama Worthy is going to, I think this is going to the distance, and I believe Kama Worthy is going to just keep it on the ground. I think Jai Herbert's going to come out strong in the first round, but Kama Worthy is going to probably tire him out, toward the end of the first, going into the second and the third. I think Kama Worthy is going to get those, probably the later 2 rounds on the ground, possibly, unless Jai Herbert's been working on his, uppercut as somebody's coming in for a takedown, a la, Derek Lewis. So I'll reluctantly be taking Kama Worthy. Not very comfortable with this fight whatsoever. It's a coin flip fight.
Our next bout at strawweight, we've got Tabitha Baby Shark Ricci versus Maria Neta Oliveira. And currently the odds on this one favor. It took you a while, didn't it?
Yeah.
Christina Ricci minus 200. Come back on Oliveira plus 165. Those odds, man, I don't want to touch it. I'm fairly confident in Tabitha Ricci. I'm not going to go too far into depth. Currently, it's a 5-1 fighter going up against a 12-4 fighter. And the thing about Maria Oliveira is that she's the girl in the highlight reel for Marina Rodrigues, who basically had her no mas moment where Rodrigues kind of beat the shit out of her, and then she essentially just quit on her feet. The barrage that Marina Rodrigues landed wasn't even, maybe I'm fucking blind, but it didn't seem to land cleanly. Nothing happened to land so impactful that, like, oh my God, she should stop the fight. It was like, oh man, she got broken there, and it was not a good look. And then she hadn't fought in about 2 years up until recently. 8 months ago, she fought some girl named Anila Tabosa, and I was trying really hard to find recent tape on this girl, and it's really difficult. So I did find the fight against her and Tabosa. I think she landed a knee to the body, and she nearly quit. But the thing is that the 2 fight win streak that Maria's on is against bums with losing records. As for Tabitha Ricci, she fought on short notice Manon Fiorot, a woman that honestly they shouldn't have been in the same cage at that time. And the thing about Ricci is that she's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. Her striking is competent. At this point with this fight, she just has to take it to the ground. She's very competent on the ground. She should get a submission or a TKO. Maria, she's not very good. I don't know how she's 12-4. I know she's been fighting a lot of bums in Brazil. But yeah, man, I don't see a way that Tabitha loses this fight unless she makes a huge grave mistake. I know she's a 7-inch reach disadvantage and a height disadvantage, but Tabitha, she's willing to grind it out. I'll put it to you this way: she's a low-level female version of Durino, Gilbert Burns. That's who she slightly reminds me of. So picture that versus like a low-level version of, I don't know, Ashley Yoder in there. So I'll go with Tabitha Ricci to win this one by, I'll say, finish in the second round. I'm going to say it's going to be armbar. With that reach advantage, I can see her just clearly taking that arm with her. So second round armbar.
Yeah, I don't really have much to say about this one. I'm going to stay away from this one as well. I'm just, yeah, I think taking a look at Oliveira, not really sure how far she's going to make it in the UFC, but if she doesn't somehow, uh, I mean, I know a lot of these fighters train, on what offensive moves to make and whatnot, but a lot of them don't bother with the defense. So if she didn't bother with her ground defense, whether it be takedown defense, grappling defense, whatever, she's not going to get very far, especially in this fight with Ricci. Ricci's, funny enough, she doesn't have the Ricci advantage. Yeah.
Fucking man, if I had a tomato, boo.
Yeah, funny. She's got the one who does have the Ricci advantage is Oliveira by 7 inches, and that's a lot. Women will tell you 7 inches is quite a bit for Ricci. So anyway, they're both young, but I think Ricci's got the higher ceiling as far as where she's going to go. Oliveira, not sure she really belongs in the UFC. She's probably going to get fed to a few other girls unless she really kicks it up a notch with her training, developing her basic skills. Yeah, I mean, I'll reluctantly go with Ricci. Also by, let me see, maybe rear naked choke in the second round.
Our next bout at middleweight, we've got the Iron Turtle, Jun Yong Park versus Gregory Rodrigues, aka RoboCop. And currently the odds on this fight have it in favor of the Iron Turtle minus 120, come back on Rodrigues plus money plus 100. Interesting bout. Currently, both of these guys are on a 3-fight winning streak. 10-3 for Rodrigues, 13-4 for Park. I will say this: Park has never been knocked out, so keep that in mind, because Gregory Rodrigues is primarily a devastating power puncher, and that's really his main goal, is to just outstrike you. His last fight against Dusko Todorovic, unfortunately, did not go under. I had it to go under and happened to go a decision. I actually had the plus money on Rodrigues. He ended up winning this fight. A lot of people say that he looks like Barack Obama, which is pretty accurate. Funny enough, he looks super fucking old, but he's 29 years old. He's not even 30. So it's insane. As for Jun Young Park, he's a tough guy. Again, he's the Iron Turtle. He's never been knocked out. He's fought a lot of power punchers. Unfortunately for these power punchers, they don't have takedown defense. Tafan and Chukwi, he got taken down multiple times, lost a majority decision. John Phillips, he gets taken down. That's his thing. That and potentially getting a knockout in a wild brawl. And then, funny enough, he did beat Marc-Andre Barriault, who's on a pretty good win streak now. But I got to say, that's a different Andre Barriault than we see now. come up with your own Canadian conclusions as into PEDs. He nearly beat Anthony Hernandez, but Hernandez eventually got an anaconda choke, which, funny enough, is becoming more of his signature move since he submitted a highly touted black belt. This is an interesting bout, really, because I can see it going either way. Gregory keeping it on the feet, possibly even hurting Jun Young Park. I can see that happening, leading to him to get to a decision. Or Jun Young Park uses his grappling. He's a tough guy. He's very, very. I don't want to say he's milk toast. He's not. There's nothing incredibly special about him, but he's very capable at winning fights. He's primed to win by decision. But at plus money on RoboCop, I'll buy that for $1. I'll go with RoboCop to win this one by a decision, primarily just using his striking, staying on the outside.
Yeah, this one's interesting. I going with Park just because Rodrigues lost to. I remember this vividly. I bet on this guy. I thought, oh, this guy's gonna smash Jordan Williams. Dude, this guy. I was like, what a fucking pussy. He lost to Jordan Williams. More importantly, he lost me money. So screw this guy. I'm going with the Iron Turtle. Even though I'm like, why the hell is this guy named RoboCop? I don't get it. I don't get the analogy. I don't get the connection there. He, Jordan Williams is the equivalent of.
Oh my God, I just figured it out. He's RoboCop because he's RoboCop before he becomes RoboCop. He's Murphy in the beginning of the movie where he's getting his ass beat by Red Foreman.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, before Red Foreman and that little angry ginger guy who gets turned into mush at the end when he shoots the truck of acid. When he shoots the vat of acid.
Mm-hmm. Dude, I actually felt bad for him in that movie. I'm like, oh, I know this is fake, but Jesus, I don't want that to happen to anybody.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's funny. Yeah, pretty funny. He's eating baby food. I don't know. Maybe he's, they named him RoboCop because he likes baby food. Who the fuck knows? Who cares? I don't think he's UFC caliber either. I think Jun Young Park is another one of these Korean tough guys. So I'll jump on that Iron Turtle bandwagon. And I'll say he gets that decision, just by outworking him, grappling and on the feet, even though funny enough, he's, his height, he's out by 5 inches, but the reach is only 3 inches. I'm like, what the hell? Apparently, RoboCop has like short arms compared to his torso, where Jun Park is like Stretch Armstrong. He's like a short, stout guy and long ass arm. Like apparently, his arms reach the floor when he's just kind of standing still. I don't know. Anyway, we're going with Park by decision.
Our next bout at flyweight, we've got Jeff El Jefe Molina versus Daniel Miojo, which is, I don't know what that translates into Portuguese, but Miojo, which is my eye in Spanish. I don't know. Maybe he's a new Jessica eye, but Daniel Miojo Lacerda. And currently the odds have it in favor of Molina. Minus 150 come back on Daniel, plus 130. And I had to do research on this guy, Daniel Lacerda, because I had no idea who he was. I know he fought out of Chutul, Brazil, and I couldn't really find a whole ton of tape on him. I just saw his highlights actually from his own YouTube channel, but he's 11-1. He's 25 years old. They're virtually identical. I don't have his reach, but they're both 5'6". But I do remember watching Jeff Molina in his UFC debut, where he looked pretty good. He looked good against Iori, Kwaileng Iori. I don't know how they have his fucking name, but that's how I see it on Tapology. But that's what I thought. I went back and rewatched it, and I'm like, damn, this dude keeps consistently backing up and getting pushed back by the more aggressive Iori. And he did not look all that impressive in that fight. In my scorecard, he was losing up until obviously the third round, where he actually started going forward and landing vicious combinations on an exhausted Iori. And he consistently landed like a 1-2 uppercut, 1-2, just landing at will. But that was like, in my eyes, a little too late. I know he ended up getting the win, but I did not like that for a UFC debut. And God knows will he do that again, because after watching tape on Lacerda, he is very aggressive. Dude's I don't know what his ranking is on Taekwondo, or if that's his primary background in martial arts, but he throws a lot of spinning kicks, like very Wonder Boy esque. For a brief moment, call me fucking stupid, but he reminded me slightly of regular karate stance McGregor for a bit in some of his tape, where he like pops up and down, hands are like kind of low, and then he throws the hook kick, and I'm like, oh man, this guy's kind of wild in there. His striking's very aggressive. He's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. Molina's also a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. It should be an interesting bout. So when it comes to these types of matchups, like I know I don't have a whole ton of tape on Daniel, but I like what I saw. I'd like to see more of him. Again, he's very aggressive on the feet, and I do have concerns about Molina backing up. He does come from obviously Glory MMA and Fitness from Missouri, the great state of Missouri. So there's always that, having James Cross in your corner. Well, as of late, it may not be the best thing. He might give you horrible advice in there, thinking that you're winning two rounds to zero and tells you to coast. But um, regardless, man, having James Cross in your corner, it's a good thing, and he'll be cornering Molina and another person on this card. But yeah, if Molina has that tendency of backing up a lot, I can see him losing these rounds. The only thing that saved him in that fight against Iori is that he dropped him in the second round very late, and that stole the round because he was getting beat up that fight. Not severely, but enough to, lose on the card. And then he completely outgunned the exhausted Iori in the third round. And funny enough, he actually got hurt in the late third round, but the judges didn't give Iori that round. So whatever. I'm still kind of salty that I lost money. I'm going to take a shot on the underdog at that plus money. I'll go with Lacerda to win this one. I think he can actually get the finish. He's very active on the ground. He's very wild. He'll throw up flying arm bars. He's gotten multiple triangle chokes from his highlights. So I think he can win it inside the distance. I don't know if he can get the knockout, but I'll actually go with the submission. I'll say maybe he'll get a triangle choke on Molina. I will say second round.
So Jeff Molina versus Daniel Lacerda. Here, I would normally go with Molina, just because he doesn't have a ton. Well, yes, he has less fights than Lacerda, but he has more fights in the UFC. Not a ton more, but a few more. So he has that experience edge. What he doesn't have, I don't think, is the talent or the coaching edge. I keep forgetting, just like that. Is it Michael McDonald song? I keep forgetting that Glory MMA is damn it, what's his name again? You just said his name, the head coach.
James Krause.
James Krause, yeah. Which I associate with kraut, as in sauerkraut, which I don't enjoy. But this guy James Krause, man, this guy has isn't he the coach who coached that Daddy Longlegs? What's her name? She has really long legs. She's Australian.
Daddy long legs, and she's Australian. Oh
Yeah.
my God. Yep. It's
What's her name?
Megan Anderson.
Yeah.
Megan Anderson.
Yes.
I mean,
he coached her.
Everyone has a stinker, dude.
Well, I mean, Anyway, yeah. So I associate kind of James Krause with that. And if he's getting that sort of training and advice, no, man. I think that alone, there's value in Lacerda. I'm going with Lacerda, just based off of that. This is also a coin flip fight. As I mentioned, I would normally go with the experience, in the UFC. I'll go with Lacerda reluctantly if I have to pick a side, but this is yet another one of those fights that I personally think is too close to call. I think this will go over, to be honest. I think this will go the distance. Could be mistaken. This whole card in general is very. It's honestly too close for comfort. Too hard to read for me. I usually have like a good, not feeling, But in my brain, I kind of play out the fights. I'm like, okay, this guy might do this, I might do that. But here, it's just, I don't know, man. I just don't see it. The quality of fighters. This is kind of like the UFC's attempt to just put, it's like, oh, we have all these fighters. Let's just put whatever leftovers we have on this card. Yeah, I think this will go to distance. So I think I'm going with Lacerda by decision. I'd say I don't think either guy will be able to finish the other. I think the grappling is probably on par. I think Daniel will come forward. He'll be the aggressive one, so he'll get points for coming forward, maybe volume, and possibly control against the cage and or takedown attempts. He may or may not get a takedown attempt. Takedown, from however many attempts.
Our next bout at strawweight, we've got Lavina Souza versus Randa Markos. And currently
Jesus.
the odds, oh yeah, don't worry about it. Currently the odds have it minus 130 for Souza, come back on Markos plus 110. And I'll put it to you this way. Randa Markos, she's on a 4-fight losing streak. 10, 11, and 1 is her overall record. She's not been looking good. I will say this, her last fight against Luena Pinheiro, kind of weird, bullshitty type of fight. Disqualification via illegal upkick. That tells me something about Randa Markos is that she desperately, desperately wants a win in the UFC. She's 36 years old. She's had a lot of fights, and they're all very close. At one point, she had a win-loss record. And I would call her a scramble fighter because she's good on the ground, but not great on the ground. She gets dominated by fighters like Amanda Ribas and Mackenzie Dern. As for Souza, she has a tendency to just shit the bed. Her fight with Ashley Yoder was very, very close. She did not look very impressive. Whatever happened with Amanda Lemos, I have no idea, but she got jabbed and she fell to the ground and she quit. To me, it's like whatever, because I'm not betting this fight whatsoever. I'm just happy that I bet Lemos at a pretty good rate, and she got the job done. So I'm not confident in either of these two fighters, and I'm just going to be 100% honest with you guys. I think Souza wins this one by decision. The only thing is that she can't make a mistake in there. Randa Markos can take a limb. Something can happen in those transitions on the ground. Markos is going to desperately try to get it to the ground, which could lead her to a victory. I want to pick Markos just because I've been picking her, at least for her last fight. I'm not stupid. I'm not picking her against Ribas and Mackenzie Dern. So I'm willing to look like a goddamn fool. I'm going to go with Randa Markos. I wanted to win, just whatever, that up kick. I mean, it's bad that she got that up kick and got disqualified, but the fact that she really wants to win, she's willing to throw illegal techniques, it's kind of gangster, unlike the quote unquote Brazilian gangster of Souza who gets dropped by a jab. And, underdog. I'll go with Markos to win this one by a decision split, of course.
Yeah, taking a side here is like, deciding whether you want to, die by self, what is it? Autoerotic self asphyxiation, or by, I don't know if you remember that scene in Casino Royale where they have James Bond tied to the chair that has a hole cut out in the bottom, and then you have Mads Mikkelsen swing the thing, whatever.
It's funny. The last time I saw that, I went to a friend's house, not knowing that he was trying to have sex with me, and I was like, "Oh, this is I don't want to watch that movie ever again, dude."
Oh, Casino Royale? You're kidding me?
Yeah, because he's like, "Oh, look at the scene." I'm just like, "Oh, that sucks," and he's just like, and then things got unpleasant. Then I had to leave.
He's inching closer, and he's like,
so yeah, I don't want to talk about Casino Royale.
Okay, but anyway, yeah. So it's having to choose between two unpleasant things. Let's just leave it at that. Randa Markos, I didn't realize she's been in the UFC since 2014 somehow. That's crazy. And looking at her record, funny enough, she doesn't. She's like the Raiders in that she, loses against certain fighters and then beats fighters that you expect her to lose against. Anyway, not a lot, but uh, she is weird. Souza's no better. If I have to reluctantly take a fighter, I'm going to take Markos. She's up there in age, but she's training at TriStar, so she's going to be aggressive. She's going to she's going to come for it. She's going to try to take her down. She's not a bad fighter, but I don't know what it is, man. It's got to be. I actually don't know why she hasn't been more successful. I think she's got all the tools to be a top 10 fighter, but I don't know, man.
She's just too accepting of being on the bottom. That's the thing about her. Again, she's a scramble fighter. She lives in that scramble where if you make a mistake, she'll reverse you and get on top, and that's what leads her to win these split decisions. I think that's how she beat Carla Esparza. I may be wrong, but I think she did beat Carla Esparza. Let's find out.
She did. She beat Carla Esparza.
The reason I remember, because I think I told you, I got Carla Esparza because she's a former champion. She should be able to. No, she out positioned her in that fight, so that's how she beats these girls, and that could happen. That's why I'm just going to take a shot on her. But yeah, you're right. It's just that she's just very accepting on the bottom.
That's another conversation. But I don't know, man. I think she's got the, uh, she's aggressive enough to where she'll, I think, earn the decision, just due to the fact that she presses the action. She's similar to Esparza in that sense, but she's not maybe as good of a wrestler. But
no,
I don't know,
takedown defense is kind of shit too. So
yeah, but I don't think Souza's going to want to take her down. I think Ronda Markos is probably going to be the one humping her leg for 3 rounds, and I think she's going to get at the very least a split decision. I think Markos is going to get at least 2 rounds here, but I think she's going to just dominate all 3 rounds. However, this is another fight to stay away from, as far as picking a side. But I do think it's going to go over. This is just one of those fights that's bound to go the distance.
And before we break down the main card, please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. We really enjoy the comments. Don't have much to say this week other than let's go Dodgers. But we'll begin the main card. Dwight Grant versus Francisco Trinaldo happening at welterweight. And currently the odds on this one have it at -120 for Trinaldo. Comeback on Dwight Grant +100. I'm not going to spend much time on this one. I've got Trinaldo to win this one. Dwight Grant, I don't know, man. He hits hard, but not incredibly hard enough to knock out guys like Joban. Went to a decision with him. He lost to Daniel Rodrigues by knockout. His chin is questionable. Put it to you that way. His last fight was against Stefan Sekulik, where he did not look great. It was a stinker of a fight. And in the 3rd round, he nearly lost. He got dropped. No, he didn't get dropped. He got kind of stunned with a right hand, I believe. Then he got in a deep guillotine choke, didn't tap. Some people in the crowd thought he had lost that fight. Luckily, he didn't because I had money on him. But dear God, never again. That was not the performance to make me want to keep betting on Dwight Grant. As for Trinaldo, on the other hand, he's moving up to welterweight. His last bout was at welterweight, fought Muslim Salikov. Imagine that, going up from lightweight to welterweight, and your first fight is Muslim Salikov. He didn't look great, but he is the type of guy that who's going to consistently try to win the fight regardless. This guy is 26-8. He's at a height disadvantage of 4 inches and a 6.5-inch reach disadvantage. But even at 43 years old, this guy he's seen it all. He's fought the way better competition. I don't think Dwight Grant's going to possess anything that Francisco hasn't seen. I think he's live for the knockout. Dwight Grant, he's also live for a knockout, but realistically, if Salikov couldn't knock out Trinaldo, I don't think Dwight Grant is. I know Grant is going to be the more explosive guy, but he will slow down. I wouldn't blame anybody out there who's taking Dwight Grant. at underdog money, but I can't bet on him. I can't pick him to win. I got to go with Trinaldo. I think he's going to look good. He no longer has to cut weight. He may have those disadvantages, but again, he's doing this strategically. If he feels comfortable and confident enough that he can beat the Dwight Grants of the division, I'll go with Trinaldo's second round knockout. I think he cracks him with something hard inside the pocket, and Dwight Grant gets knocked out again.
Yeah, man, I'm going with Trinaldo as well. He's basically taking the route that Yoel Romero should have taken. Dude, Yoel is pretty much done after his last fight in Bellator. I'm not sure if you saw it or not. Dude, he should just pack it up and go home.
He did not know it was a 3-round fight. That's the first sign of CTE.
Dude. He's gotten he no longer comes forward. He no longer has that explosiveness. I don't know if he stopped taking whatever steroids he was taking, and he no longer looks performs or even speaks like the old Romero. So whatever. Anyway, that's not here nor there. But relating to Trinaldo is still a beast, man. This guy cracks. Even at 43 years old, it's like, dude, anybody that gets hit with a Trinaldo bomb. Wait, sorry, my phone's a little fuzzy. Masarandubaba.
Masaranduba. That's, I think, redwood or some sort of tree, hard tree.
Oh, I thought that was Portuguese for Trinaldo bomb. Anyway, anybody that hits, he still cracks, man. Even at 43 years old, it's like a lot of these guys they're probably going to underestimate him. He's going to crack them. I'm going to take Trinaldo's experience over Dwight Grant's. I would, even at 37, I wouldn't necessarily call it youth.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, it's crazy that you bring it up. I was going to bring it up, but I forgot. But he's 37 fucking years old. He's pretty damn old. That's crazy. He didn't look. You know what they say about blacking and not cracking.
Yeah, 6 years. I mean, 6 years is nothing to scoff at. But I mean, the amount of experience this guy has, with the fact that he doesn't really give up. This guy just fights. Even if he's tired, he still swings. He's still swinging and banging. I don't know what Portuguese is for that. I guess we should find out what swinging and banging is. But that's what he does, man. And I think it's fighting up a weight class is going to help him. He's not going to feel as depleted. In his old age. I think it's going to work to his advantage. Hopefully, he's not just like, no, I don't have to cut weight. So that means I don't have to worry about my cardio. He should still train. Like if he's going to fight at 155, but just not cut the weight. There's a bunch of weight. Obviously, he doesn't have to do weight cuts. It's not going to deplete him. So I think he'll be pretty strong. He's going to crack him, and then he's going to back that ass up against the cage, and I think he's going to win. I'm going to go with Trinaldo. It's going to be one of the fights to watch, I think. Going to be a pretty good fight. I'll go Trinaldo by decision, but I don't know. Maybe he might get a TKO in the second or third. You never know how hard he's going to crack it at 170. So I'll be looking forward to this, unless it's an early fight, which I don't think it is. Maybe.
Let's find out. 1 p.m. So it is an early fight. 1 p.m. Eastern time. So that would be.
What the hell? Why are they making all these fights early?
Yeah, I don't know. I got shit to do in the afternoons, so I'm happy with it.
Yeah, I don't know. But
our next bout at featherweight, we've got a bout between Alex Bruce Leroy Caceras and what's up there in the rafters? It's Sting! That's right. It's Sting, Seung-Woo Choi. And currently the odds have it in favor of Seung-Woo Choi minus 280. Holy shit. Come back on Caceras plus 225. I think the odds are, like you mentioned, a little juiced, but I don't disagree with them. I think Seung-Woo Choi is going to win this one. The dude is very, very good on the feet, very aggressive. I was a fan even before the Julian Erosa post-fight interview where he's trying his damnedest to speak English, and he's like, I promise I'm gonna get better. And I respect that. I respect that he's trying to gain a audience outside of his home country of Korea. But the guy, he cracks, man. He throws absolute heat. That fight with Erosa, he was throwing heat from the beginning. And Erosa, he was firing back and he did not seem to care. Dude's got a pretty solid chin. His first two fights in the UFC were pretty damn tough. Mozar Evloev, the goddamn Russian dynamo, and Gavin Tucker. And this was around the time Gavin Tucker came back after an ass whooping from Ricky Glenn and, started looking good up until he fought Dan Ige. And then after that, he went on a tear. He's on a 3-fight winning streak. He's beaten, I'm not going to really mention Mokhtarian, but he beat Yusuf Zalal, which is a good win still, even though he's on a losing streak himself. And he beat Julian Erosa. And the thing about Julian Erosa is that he reminds me, call me crazy, but as much as I've shit on Erosa in the past, he does remind me of kind of a Poirier type of vibe, where the guy has lost a lot in the UFC, but he's very, very, very good. And his striking is pretty damn good. His jiu-jitsu is very good. He's recently gone on a pretty good, unfortunately he got knocked out by Sting, but he came back and he fought Air Jordan and he submitted him. So I'm starting to respect Julian Erosa a lot more. And for Sung Woo Choi to knock him out in the first round, it puts him high on my list of prospects. I really like this kid. For Caceras, it's crazy that he's only 33 years old. Dude seems like he's been fighting in the UFC for fucking ever. Of course, he started in the Ultimate Fighter, and he's had a weird career where he's lost a lot. Then he came back and he won. His most recent loss was against Kron Gracie. He got submitted there. And although he's on a 4-fight winning streak, the level of competition hasn't been all that desirable. Kevin Kroom is his latest win. That was 7 months ago. And I have to say, I feel kind of foolish betting Kevin Kroom because he looked like absolute dog shit in that fight, like complete garbage. I'm like, minute number 2, I'm like, my money's gone. Then he beat Austin Springer. He submitted Austin Springer. That's not much to say. He was the first person to defeat Chase Hooper. Luckily, though, I actually was on the winning end of that fight. I bet Caceres. I had a feeling he would beat him, and then he beat Steven Peterson, the other guy who beat Chase Hooper. Man, Caceres is good, right? He's very good, but he's not this type of fighter that has the quality attribute, I should say. He's not all that great on the ground. His striking is good and it's ever improving, but Sung Woo Choi is going to crack him. I know Caceres hasn't really been knocked out a whole ton. His chin isn't like incredibly questionable, and he has been knocked out. Don't get me wrong. I don't know if Sung Woo Choi will knock him out, but he's not this type of fighter that's just always looking for the knockout. He's willing to grapple. He's just very aggressive sometimes. And especially with guys he knows he can knock out, I don't think he's going to put all his eggs in that basket. I do see Sung Woo Choi winning this one by a decision, though. I think he's just going to have the better output. He's getting really good. He's getting better every time we see him. So I'll go with Sting to win this one by a pretty clear decision. I might even include him in a couple parlays.
Funny enough, I actually found out why he's called Sting. His girlfriend is named Roxanne.
Uh,
No, I'm kidding. I don't know. I don't think that's why they call him Sting. But he does crack, and he will crack Caceres. And after he cracks Caceres a few times, he'll have Caceres saying do 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 da 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 da. Yeah, I think this is going to be a spot where Sung Woo Choi, he's going to just come out on top, move past Leroy, and he ranked 27th. So I think he's just gonna, fight whoever is. That's funny. He's already ranked above him, so
I know.
I'm pretty sure he's gonna fight a top 25 guy. I don't know if he's gonna. I don't know how far up, if anything, this fight is gonna put Doom. I'll just name him Choi. Sun Woo Choi. I was going to say Du Woo Choi. That's somebody else.
Yep, that's someone else. It's a different character from the Squid Games.
Yeah, man. This is and this is probably going to put an end to Alex Caceras's cultural appropriation. He's no longer going to be known as Bruce Leroy after this. Otherwise, they're going to cancel his ass. So yeah, sucks for Bruce Leroy, but he's going to come out with an L here. Even though he is on a pretty good fight win streak, and he was almost going to be a gatekeeper of sorts, beating these young up and coming guys, a la Arlovsky or somebody else I can't think of at the moment. But I think damn it, I keep calling him Du Woo Choi, Sun Woo Choi. Yeah, I'll just call him Sting. He's he's just got damn, he's 20 years old. Holy shit, I was younger. He's got youth on his side at the very least. He's, I think, closer to his prime than Caceres is, even though Caceres took a whooping to Hooper, but Hooper just got that, a little bit of hype around him just because he looks like what's his name? His name escapes me at the moment.
Michael Cera?
No, Chase Hooper. He looks like
yeah.
No, his dad.
Oh, Ben Askren.
Ben Askren, yes.
I keep associating him with a twink, so I'm like always thinking in that caliber, but yeah, it's Ben Askren.
Yeah, and it's like, oh man, it's funny, but dude, you don't want to get associated with somebody who gets knocked the fuck out, or who's famous for getting knocked out and getting embarrassed in the UFC. Anyway,
and outside the UFC.
Yeah, in and outside the UFC. It's getting embarrassed in combat sports in general. So long story short, won't keep this going with Du Woo Choi at the very least with I don't think he'll be able to knock him out. I think Bruce Lee, I'll give Brucey the benefit of the doubt, and I think he'll get the decision. I think he'll just land more significant shots. I think maybe he'll wobble him, maybe with an uppercut or an overhand, and then just control, maybe against the cage. I think he'll back him up enough to control against the cage. I think he's just he's just the more exciting fighter. And I don't know, man, those kind of bowl cuts are growing on me, man. I think I'm going to get one myself.
Our next bout at light heavyweight, we've got a bout between Nick, problematic last name, and Ike Villanueva. And currently the odds have it at, minus 250 for Negumereanu. Comeback on Villanueva is plus 200. I remember.
Hey, this is a family show, man.
No, seriously though. Funny enough for Negumereanu, which I'm gonna not bleep this time. Last time I did it, I don't want to repeat jokes because you know why. You know why it's problematic. But yeah, Negumereanu, nickname is Mai. He went from being a plus 200 underdog his last fight against Alexa Kamor, which I did cash, baby. I'm gonna brag about that one because I think I was one of the very few people that was on Negumereanu, and he won that split decision, baby. I was so fucking hyped. But at those odds, he is not worth betting. Minus 250, hell no. I don't care who it's with. His skill set was not that good. He's good. He's a solid fighter, but to go to a split decision with Alexa Kamor, I really thought he would handle business better than that. I thought he would win the fight decisively, but it was very close. His striking is very wild. He does take a good ass whooping though, so that's always a good sign. Like he can take an ass whooping. He took an ass whooping from Safarov, and he made it to the decision loss, but he took that ass whooping, and he comes back after that 2-year layoff. He's looking good, but he goes to a split decision with Alexa Kamor. Ike Villanueva, is he primed for possibly getting a knockout? Because that's the only way he can win. Again, Negumereanu's very tough. He can take a shot. He's a Romanian wrestler. He's been wrestling since he was a kid. So he's a solid grappler, although his last fight really didn't demonstrate that. So his path to victory for Nick is to take down Ike Villanueva, probably finish him. For Ike, he's 37 years old. He can still crack. It's just that his durability is officially, I think it's done. When he took that body shot from Marcin Prachnio, yes, Prachnio kicks fucking hard, but that's when I'm like, man, because I thought he could beat Prachnio, and he was looking okay, and then that body shot hit him, and I'm like, maybe that's the end of Villanueva's like ultimate toughness. Like I know he's been finished before, but he got finished by Jordan Wright via doctor stoppage cut, and man, he's taken a lot of punishment. I like Ike, really, really like this guy. But yeah, man, I think Negumereanu wins this one by a decision, possibly even a finish. I don't advise betting him. If you want to take a shot, maybe inside the distance, I think he can get him into the ground and then maybe finish him with strikes, possibly even a submission. But I'd advise staying away. But yeah, I've got Negumereanu by hood beatdown.
I've got Nick as well. I won't go too much into it. He's got the youth on his side. He's got a better record. Ike, he's pissed me off because he lost against, or I was stupid enough to bet on him either versus Jordan Wright and or Chase Sherman. But anyway, he's 1-3 in the UFC. Not very good. I mean, he's only beat Vinicius Moreira. That's really not a good look. I don't think this guy's going to be around for very much longer. He's 37 years old. I think he could be very well be a middleweight. I think he's not in really great shape to be at light heavyweight to begin with. So yeah, I think his days are counted. I think I don't know what his fight contract is like, but either after this loss or maybe his next loss, I think it's goodbye to him. So I'll go with Nick by at the very least decision. But yeah, he might very well get the TKO in the second or the third. However, yeah, this is one. I wouldn't say this is a coin flip fight, but it is. It's a lot closer than people think, but I think he will get edged out by Nick.
Our next bout at women's bantamweight, Jess Rose Clark versus La Pantera, and Jocelyn Edwards. And currently the odds have it in favor of Rose Clark. Well, actually, help me out in the comments. Is Jessica Rose her first name, or is it Jessica and then Rose Clark? I'm inclined to believe it's Jessica Rose as the first name, last name Clark. But anyways, enough about that bullshit. Minus 140 for Clark, comeback on Edwards, plus 115. And this should be a pick 'em, in my opinion. I know the odds are in favor of Jessica Rose Clark because of the absolute beatdown she gave to Sarah Alpar, where she, I think, knocked her out twice in the fight, just completely battered Sarah Alpar. And beating Sarah Alpar should not grant you the ability to be a favorite in a fight. That's the only way I see this one not being a dead pick 'em, other than maybe obviously line movement. I'm not inclined to pick Jessica Rose Clark because I think this one is a lot closer. This one is absolutely a coin flip fight. And I think Jocelyn Edwards is getting less, I guess, favorable, what do you call it? Less favorable action on her. What am I trying to say? I think Edwards is the underdog primarily because she lost to Carol Hosa, which I think losing to Carol Hosa might still be a better look on your record than beating the shit out of Sarah Alpar, because I took a shot on Sarah Alpar against cold-blooded Erin Blanchfield, and Blanchfield completely dominated her. And I'm like, man, I was absolutely wrong about Alpar. She does not belong in the UFC at all. Jocelyn Edwards, though, I can say this: she did bloody up Carol Rosa. She's very aggressive on the feet, on the ground. She's not a slouch. I think they're both purple belts on the ground, if I remember correctly. I think Jocelyn Edwards, her striking is very wild, and this is primarily, at least the way I see it, going to stay on the feet for the majority of the fight. As for if it hits the ground, I think Jocelyn Edwards is okay off of her back. I mean, you can't really take too much stock in Carol Hosa being on top of you and kind of dominating you for the majority of the fight while you're on your back, but she's able to create scrambles and get back to her feet. As for Jessica Rose Clark, I think her primary weapon is just to try to stay heavy on top. I don't really think she really goes to a submission game too often. As for the strength advantage, I think Jessica Rose Clark might have that, although she is the shorter fighter by 3 inches. She's also going to have a 3 inch reach disadvantage. This one's close because Jessica Rose Clark is probably going to try to get it to the ground. I think that's what's her main goal is, maybe edge out the rounds in a very close striking battle by her going for the takedown. The thing about this fight is that Jocelyn Edwards, I think she can be sneaky enough with her wild striking to edge the rounds. I think I'm breaking this one too much because it's gonna be a split decision in these situations. If it's close, I'm gonna go with Edwards. I think there's a lot of good in her. I think she's an unpolished. What am I trying to say here? She's a uncut gem. What am I saying here? Diamond in the rough. Is that it?
Polished turd.
No, no, not a polished turd. She's like she has potential. She just has to get the right training, and I think she can do well. Not obviously, I don't think she's going to be a champion, but she has some good attributes, right? She has a very long reach. She's got a pretty nice jab and very nice straight punches. It's just that, she's not the best with her takedown defense. Her fight with Yanan Wu was kind of trash. Like, it could have gone either way. I luckily put money on her to win just because I love betting female underdogs in women's MMA, just because these fights are super close unless you're betting like the upper echelon. So I'll do it again. I'll go with Jocelyn to win this one. I think it's going to go to a decision. I can see her sneaking it out. So I'll go with Edwards to just sneak out a decision, just maybe landing that one significant punch in the round that sways the judges. So I'll go with her by a decision.
I'm going with Jessica Rose Clark. Sure, it's not like she, earned a title by beating Jessica Alpar, who I picked and bet on. Unfortunately, that was pretty bad. Jessica Alpar deserves to not be in the UFC. Jessica Rose Clark, whatever her name is. She isn't really, this isn't going to be, this is probably, if you want to, this is one of those bathroom break fights. If you, get a refill on wings, go get some more beer, go to the store if you're low on chips, whatever. This is probably the fight to do that. I wouldn't worry too much about this one. If I have to make a choice, I'll go with Clark by decision. I don't think it's going to be that action-packed, but I do believe she will, for what it's worth, come forward with the action, if you want to call it that, and she will, just get the decision just based on controlling the fight, getting more significant strikes, or at the very least making it seem like she's getting the significant strikes. I just think she's got a little bit more, and she'll probably get past her somehow. And she does apparently train at 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu. So Eddie Bravo should probably, he'll most likely have her trained, in whatever he does there.
How to get submitted but not tap out.
Yeah, exactly. How to, how to rough it in those rough spots. So I'm going with Clark. This is another fight you should stay away from. I know that urge to I know who's gonna win. This is women's MMA. You never know who's gonna win unless you're betting on Valentina or Amanda. So stay away from this one. This is not the women's MMA fight you want to bet on. Stay far away.
Our next bout, co-main event of the evening, Grant KGD Dawson, which I'd never really found out what that stands for, but my thought is Killer Grant Dawson, which kind of kicks ass. Then again, it sounds like KGB, which if so, he can go fuck himself. And Ricky the Gladiator Glenn. Currently, the odds have it in favor of, let's find out here together. Ooh, upwards to about minus 300 for Dawson comeback on Glenn plus 235. These are some tough fights to bet on, man. Like, yeah, Grant Dawson should be the favorite, but that high is not something I'm looking to bet on. Uh, the thing about Grant Dawson and the way this fight should go is that he should get the takedown, dominate on the ground. He's very, very good at wrestling. He's getting better and better at the jiu-jitsu. Primary weapon was the rear naked choke. His striking is getting better, but it's not there yet. His striking is not going to be better than Ricky Glenn. Ricky Glenn is a savage in there. And I'm not saying that like he's like this ultimate killer. And he's got the better striking. He's been boxing since he was younger, maybe in his 10 or so. I can't remember exactly when he started boxing, but he's a boxer. He's training out of Team Alpha Male, if I recall correctly. And he's solid. They're both brown belts in jiu-jitsu. Funny enough, I'm not sure why Grant Dawson hasn't been promoted to a black belt the way he handled Leonardo Santos. Like, he looked pretty good in that fight in the third round, but the first two rounds, I'll tell you a bit of a story. I was headed to the casino to bet on this fight. And I thought, you know what? I might take a shot on Santos. He's the underdog. I think he can edge out this fight. And I'm live betting this as I'm watching it on my phone. And I'm thinking, damn, Santos is winning so much so that the line is just completely shifted. And I'm like, I'm staying away from it completely. And I think I bet, I forgot who I bet that night. Maybe Superman Span to knock out Misha, which I think cashed. So I stayed away from it. I'm thinking, damn, Grant Dawson's losing this fight. He needs a finish. He ends up getting that finish in the third round beautifully. He knocks him out with devastating hammer fist. That's his first professional loss in the UFC. And I think this first knockout, unless I can't remember if he got knocked out by Gomi, whatever. But yeah, I read the scorecards later that night, and most of the judges had Grant Dawson winning by decision, which I was like, what the fuck? What was he doing in that fight? He could not get the striking off, couldn't get him to the ground. So that was a concerning thing, that maybe if he can't get Ricky Glenn down to the ground, it might be a tough fight for him on the feet. But realistically, when you look at it, he fought Leonardo Santos, although the guy's in his 40s. He's got a wealth of knowledge. He's very, very skilled. He even judo flipped. I don't know what specific Japanese name you call the fucking judo trip on Grant Dawson, and got on top of him. But the thing about Grant Dawson is he got back up and he kept pushing forward. I think he's going to be able to get Ricky Glenn down a lot easier than he got Santos. And if he gets him down, he's going to beat the shit out of him at lightweight. He moved up from featherweight after missing weight too many damn times. I think he's going to be the more powerful guy. The fight with Ricky Glenn and Joaquim Silva unfortunately let me down. I thought he was able to win that fight very close, but he walked into I think it was a right hand. He literally walked into it, got dropped and finished, and nothing that Ricky Glenn did was significantly powerful, just that it was a perfectly timed shot, and a very aggressive Silva got clipped. And man, I still can't forget that Kevin Aguilar ground down Ricky Glenn and kind of beat his ass. So I always have that in the back of my mind. Although I think Grant Dawson wins this one by a decision, just kind of batters Ricky Glenn, I think it's still close enough that I think Glenn might be a live dog, depending on if Grant Dawson really learned his lesson against Santos, is if he's going to just go all in for the takedown, or be a little bit more comfortable on the feet. He just has to be very careful. I'm staying away from this one, but I do think Grant Dawson wins this one by decision. I think he is the rightful favorite. He's a younger guy. This guy, I think he's something special. I don't think he's ever going to be a UFC champion, but I think he might make it to maybe the top 10. He'll be a Kevin Lee type of fighter, where he's always in the mix, but he's never past the hump to become like a title challenger. Although Kevin Lee did fight for a title, it was an interim title, whatever. I like Grant Dawson. I think if he makes the proper improvements, he can go far, but realistically, not that far.
Yeah, don't have much more to add. I'm also hopping on the Dawson train. KGD, I don't know what the hell that means either. Ricky Glenn, I think he's not going to make it easy for him. I don't know, not really much more. I think this is appropriately the fight that they should have uh, that should have landed as a co-main event here. I think it'll have a decent amount of action, but uh, just as the card in the main event, it won't be the you know the most action packed card. I don't know how else to put it. Am I looking forward to it? Sure. I guess if I'm home, I don't know. I think I'll be home, possibly. Um, but yeah, don't really have much more to say. I'm going with Dawson by decision. But these guys, I think they'll come out to crack. So there could possibly be a TKO. Who knows?
Next bout at middleweight main event, Paulo the Eraser Costa versus Marvin the Italian Dream Vettori. Basically, the battle of the guys who got cucked by Adesanya, one more so than the other. The odds currently have it in favor of Marvin Vettori. I would take it because he didn't get raw dogged by Adesanya at the end of the fight. Comeback on Paulo Costa is plus 120. This one, honestly, I know you said that this might be one of the easier fights for you to guess, but for me, it was really, really hard. I could not really make up my decision because when I thought about it, Marvin Vettori seems like the really good pick here, especially because I thought he was going to be an underdog, but it makes sense if you're really like looking at the lines, it makes sense. Paulo Costa, not for what he did in that fight, although the fight against Adesanya is the one I'm referring to. Although he looked like absolute dog shit, that horrible, horrible game plan didn't do anything. Fucking saluted him like Rio Romero, and then he got penetrated at the end of the fight. His post fight comments and his behavior has been very concerning. He talked about getting drunk the night before for the biggest fight of his life. He's getting hair transplants. I thought that was fake, but it turns out it's real. It was very like question marks, like what the hell? It's a head scratching moment. And I understand why he's the underdog, because how is he going to come into this fight? Like he absolutely needs to win this fight to really gain favor back with the fans. He's a very entertaining fighter. Like it's crazy to think that the guy who was undefeated and a lot of people thought was going to defeat Adesanya is now an underdog against Marvin fucking Vettori. Marvin's a good fighter, right? He's a solid fighter, but he's never really been seen as a type of guy that's like that top 5 star quality. Paulo Costa was that guy, and now he's kind of faded into obscurity. He pulls out of fights. Um, he's on that special juice that he's always talking about. It makes him big and strong. Ew, like I want to take a shot on him because I remember the fighter that he was, but how is he going to look against Marvin Vettori? Marvin Vettori, he can take a shot. He can push forward. He can take you down. He can grind you out. He's got solid jujitsu. His striking's, not the greatest, but it's serviceable. Man, I want to pick Marvin. I really think Paulo might be live, but it's really tough for me to fucking pick him, man. Like, I don't want to default and go with Marvin because that's what my brain is saying. Like logically, I think Marvin wins this fight by a decision. But I do remember that fight against Kevin Holland when Kevin cracked him late and could have finished him had he had better takedown defense. And man, I don't care how retarded Paulo Costa is. If he cracks you, you're fucking done. And those body shots that he rips, man, it's gonna really wear on the gas tank of Vettori if he can't get off on those takedowns, even in the later rounds. Man, he trains with Henry fucking Cejudo. It's possible he can win this fight. I'm gonna I'm gonna take a shot on Paulo Costa. Like, man, it sucks because I literally have on Tapology Vettori by decision, but I'm gonna go with Paulo Costa. I think might be able to get it done in the later rounds, maybe round number 3. I think after demolishing the body of Vettori, he could win this one by a TKO. So I think that would be the smarter play. Just destroy the body of Vettori and the head will follow, because trying to knock out Vettori is going to be tough. I mean, Paulo can do it. Man, I feel like a fucking idiot. I really feel like an idiot. I think Vettori actually wins it, but I'm going to go with my gut. I think Paulo Costa can pull it off. God damn it, I feel dirty. I feel fucking dirty. What do you got on this one?
Well, so here's the thing about certain fights. Well, not about certain fights. This is the thing when when at least I can speak for myself. When looking at fights, is I have that uh, bias. You know what I mean? It's like, for example, if let's say let let's say just to kind of give you something to to relate to. Let's say in Bellator, the next fight that they announced, next main event, sometime in the future, is going to be a rematch between Yoel Romero and Lyoto Machida, right? You're going to think back to, oh, hey, when thinking about who's going to win that fight, it's going to be like, oh, it's going to be a repeat of Yoel Romero going in there, bum rushing Machida and knocking him out. But that's being biased, and you're assuming that Romero is going to be in the same great shape. He's going to have that explosive power, cardio, so on and so forth. And Machida, I mean, he's pretty much done. He just backs up all the time. He doesn't really have any offense. I don't think he wants to fight. I think he wants to get paid, but I don't think he wants to actually fight anymore. Anyway, but you have that picture of what a fighter does at their best, and you think, oh, hey, this is how they're going to come out. But in reality, I think what's his name, Ricky Martin,
Costa.
Paulo Costa, I think he's done. And the reason I say that is this: when fighters reach or try to reach the pinnacle, when they get close, meaning when they get a championship, a shot at a championship, whether it be the Super Bowl, the World Series, boxing, combat sports, whatever. The fighter that wins, they do whatever they do. But the fighter that loses, or the team that loses, or whatever, more often than not, they go on a downward spiral. There's certain exceptions, like the Dodgers. They lost several World Series. They finally won one, and they're in contention to possibly play for another. Right? We'll look at Deontay Wilder. I think he lost the first fight. They called it a draw. He lost the second fight, and then he came back the third, and he looked worse in the second fight. So I think he's going on a downward spiral. But then there's other fighters who, lose. Let's say in a championship fight, either lose the belt or lose the opportunity to win the belt, and they come back stronger. As much as I don't like the guy, GSP is one of those guys where he lost the belt, came back, he won the belt from Sarah. I think he did it against Hughes as well. But anyway, he didn't give up. Losing made him stronger. I think it happened to BJ to a certain extent as well, because I think BJ is the better fighter. But anyway, that's another story. And it happens every now and again to teams as well. It's like they lose, but then they come back and they don't give up until they win. Vettori isn't one of those guys. Vettori. Costa isn't one of those guys. I don't think Vettori is either, in the sense that I don't think Vettori is going to be champion as long as Adesanya has the belt. But anyway, I think Costa is on a downward spiral. There's too many red flags to ignore. Yes, he trains with Cejudo, but he isn't Cejudo. I mean, he doesn't have the same work ethic, skills, or talent as Cejudo. So, like all these guys, like, oh, hey, I train with Cormier, or I train with Cain Velasquez. They aren't Cormier or Cain Velasquez. They might train with them. But anyway, I think it's the same principle. I think Costa's done. Is he going to come out and be the Costa that, went toe to toe with Yoel Romero at his, arguably his prime? Is he the guy who beat Johnny Hendricks out of his prime? I think not. What's his name? Ngannou. There's another guy. Sure, he lost his first chance at the title, but he came back stronger and he got the title. He didn't give up. You know what I mean? So that's a positive example. Costa, I don't think so. I think whatever he was juicing on, his special juice.
Jewess.
Yeah, he's whatever. With Vettori, you know exactly what you're getting. You're getting a guy who's going to go for takedowns, who's going to try to grapple you. It's not going to make for a very exciting fight, but he's going to grind out a very boring decision. And that's pretty much what you're going to get with Vettori. Yeah, Costa's done. I think. I don't know, man. I think it's more mental with Costa. Whatever issues are affecting him outside of the octagon, they're very obviously, affecting his career. So he's got to get that straightened out. He's got to see a psychologist, psychiatrist, whatever. He needs help. He needs to get that straightened out. He needs to work out those bugs. Otherwise, he's going to end up like, I don't want to say Robbie Lawler to a certain extent, because Robbie still fights. He still gives it most of his all. But I think Robbie could still crack. I think he could still be top 5, but I don't know, man. There's something that holds these fighters back mentally. I mean, they can physically still fight, but there's something that broke inside him prior to the Adesanya fight. Yeah, I don't know what it is, man. I don't know a lot about his personal life, but whatever it is, he's got to get it fixed. And only he knows what it is. And, his coach or whatever might know what it is, but those around him need to get him the help that he needs. Otherwise, he is like my steaks. He is well done. Or how I like my steaks, I should say. Although, after watching a few videos on YouTube, I think I might go with, probably I'll move down to medium well and go down to medium, maybe, depending. I like a little bit of char on my steaks.
Well done is despicable. I think it's going to be Johnny from TigerBomb MMA from now on. But dude, I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with what you're saying. Logistically, everything you said is very accurate. And I don't know, man. I'm not changing my pick because I don't want to be that piece of shit. Like, oh, I think you're right. I'm not even going to say wait till weigh-ins. I think honestly, Marvin Vettori is probably primed to win this one. So anyone who's willing to bet, maybe listen to Jose. But as for me, I might actually take a small shot on Paulo, just because you never know. I'm a gambler and I'm an idiot, so I'll go with that. But yeah, dude, you brought up excellent points, and yeah, all I can say is I don't disagree. And as for the possible parlays to bet on this fight card, it's hard to say, man. There's a lot of guys out here that are basically they overprice themselves. They're being overpriced. And I'm not one of these guys that's always going to go with the favorite just because they're the favorite. Like a minus 250 on uh Negumereanu is not worth it. A minus 350 on Grant Dawson, not worth it at all. Maybe Tabitha Ricci. I think Tabitha wins it, but it's still risky because it's women's MMA. The only people that I'm fairly confident that are going to win would be Sungwoo Choi, but they're still like back of my head, maybe not. But I do think Sungwoo Choi is going to go on my parlay. Also, Jai Herbert. I think he's going to get the job done. I'm reluctantly going to add Tabitha Ricci because although I am skeptical, I think she will get the job done. So those 3 people, that might be my only play on this one. And then I might do a couple singles. Like I will for sure be taking a shot on a plus 130 Daniel Lacerda. And I'm going to put a small, very, very small bet on Paulo Costa just because I saw some of his Instagram. He's looking in shape. His hairline looks great. Maybe that maybe that was the issue, that his hairline was receding and he just fucking panicked and he lost his mind for a little bit. So full hairline Costa is going to be champ. I'll go with Paulo Costa, depending on the line. If the line kind of goes into a pick 'em, maybe it goes maybe a minus 110. I might not be worth it, but if it hits like plus 120, I'm going to hit that one and see what happens. But what are you thinking for this card?
If you're going to bet on this card, I'd say go light. This is not a card you should go deep on. At the most, I'd say bet no more than a total of 10% of your bankroll on this if you have to bet that much. But as far as my picks, let's see. Either betting straight or putting them all in some sort of parlay, either 2-3 person parlay or whatever. I'd say I'm going with Tabitha Ricci. I'm going with Young Park. Seungwoo Choi. Grant Dawson and Martin Vettori. Either betting them straight or, like I said, doing, some sort of mixed parlay with them, however many person parlay. Parlays, realistically, to make a profit, you shouldn't do more than like 2-3 person parlays at the most. But I would say, even though you don't make as much profit from straight bets, especially when lines are juiced this much, straight bets are usually the best way to go because you're going to make at least a little bit of a profit versus just losing everything in a parlay because there's some dumb toothy bitch that doesn't know how to finish her opponents in submissions, but you reluctantly bet on dumb said bitch anyway. So so again, this should be a card that you go light on as far as betting. Don't go deep on this card, or just take the night off. Just enjoy the fights if you want, or just wait until next week. There's always next week.
Words of wisdom. There's always next week when it comes to a UFC fight card. But those have been our picks for UFC Fight Night Costa versus Vettori, Johnny and Jose, TigerBomb MMA, and we will see you next week.